Jamie.
So specific.
You can see that look of panic in my face. I'm not recording any of this. I haven't pressed the record button.
Amazing.
Is it recorded anywhere else? Did we set the back up?
Yeah, we've been recording for half an hour.
Well done, Ross. Thank God we did go for that.
Thank God for you, Ross. You're my favourite now.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James and Chris Dale.
I bet you're surprised to see me here.
It's always a delight, but a surprise.
It was a bit touch and go, Jamie. I've not been very well.
I know, poor you, but you look okay now.
Do you know the reason I'm actually here? I don't know if you know this, but I primed Chris Dale to sit in this very chair.
I was aware.
But the thing that made me come was I couldn't bear for him to sit here and sit through a Fab Fact.
Oh,
I couldn't do that to him.
That was a very precise amount of cruelty you went for. I thought you were going to say I couldn't bear for him to sit opposite you, which would have been really, really mean.
There is that. It's the Gerry Anderson Podcast. We're here again. Pod 280, I think.
Surprising everybody with the incremental increasing numbers of podcasts that we produce.
Exactly. We ought to introduce ourselves. Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Go on.
Should we start unusually?
Okay.
Because you've already mentioned him.
Yes.
We're joined also in the studio by Chris Dale.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Hi, guys.
Oh, there he is. Ready for his randomiser at the very end of the show. It's the most popular part. We really do save the best to last, don't we?
Okay, now you set this up,
Yeah.
I feel like we should actually now kind of reverse introduce all the sections in the show and then end with
The worst
saying
part.
who we are.
Oh, I see. I thought we were going to go from best to worst.
No. We're going to go chronologically.
End. Okay, right. So, we'll start with the randomiser at the very end of the show, where Chris Dale sits in front of a random episode of a Gerry Anderson series and comments and reviews
Yep.
as he goes. Then we've got a very special feature, because eagle-eyed viewers might have spotted during the news items recently that Jamie Anderson here was sitting in front of a copy of a certain book that he shouldn't have been sitting in front of.
No, you're making it sound like it was an error rather than a very carefully planned marketing ploy.
Okay, so to mark the release of Candy, Andy and the Bearanders, I had the wonderful Alan Dein round to my house.
What?
Yeah.
Where was my invite?
Well, don't want you around my house.
Oh.
He couldn't make it here to Slough, so he popped round for a spot of lunch and chatted to me about Candy, Andy, the Bearanders, and we'll be looking at that a little later on.
What a strange thing. I never thought we'd be talking about Candy and Andy in this kind of
At
a
all.
way. At all on the podcast, but it's a lovely sort of symbol of the breadth of material we cover.
Breadth of material. And then we've got, I'm just trying to think backwards on that. Well, Gerry Anderson News, because there's always something happening in the Anderson universe.
Yeah.
So we'll be
Spread
getting to
throughout.
that. No, but before that,
Yeah.
we've got Fab Facts as well.
Yeah, your favourite.
Right.
Best thing in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Random fact from a book. I shout Fab, Jamie reads out a Fab.
Rich
That's
doesn't like it.
That's about it, really. But sprinkled throughout, our wonderful Podsterons have been getting in touch at podcast@gerryanderson.com. They've been commenting on our Facebook group, and I think I might be reading some of those comments out a bit later.
Brilliant.
If you're lucky. Right.
And of course, all those things will be hosted by you and I, you being,
Richard James.
and I being, Jamie Anderson.
Well, I
yeah,
was
sorry,
gonna
I didn't
say
say
it.
that. Sorry, I forgot. God,
What's interesting there is I said my name really quickly, so my name's got to flash up and then disappear before it cuts to you.
well, that's fine.
That's fine, isn't
I'm
it?
okay with that.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Yeah.
the worst introduction that we've ever done. And there have been some bad introductions.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, exactly. Yeah. We set the bar quite high.
Good. Well done us. Let's never do it backwards again.
No, it wasn't my idea.
No. Okay. Let me never have an idea again.
No, that is the best idea you've ever had.
Okay, fine. Well, let's stick with things that are proven to make everyone, including you, incredibly happy.
Yes.
Let's proceed immediately, without delay, to Fab Facts.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Go on.
You may have seen it. Go right.
What? I have seen it.
You've
Yes,
seen it here.
I know. It's been taunting me from the side of my eye.
I've got this lovely book of Fab Facts. Oh, look at it. Ooh, it's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes. Looking a bit battered, actually.
It is a
isn't
bit battered, but it's so packed with Fab Facts.
Yeah. So sometimes the pages fall out.
They do sometimes, yes. It's getting a bit loose, isn't it? But in order to find a Fab Fact worthy of this section, I flick through with my thumb.
Yes.
Richard shouts Fab, and
Yeah.
that stops us on a random page
True.
where I will read, hopefully, a Fab fact.
That'd
I
be
can't
nice.
guarantee it'll be fab.
No.
Or perhaps even that it's fact,
Oh, right. But apart from that...
Yes.
Okay, fine.
where I will read some words on a page.
Yes.
Richard, are you ready?
Go on then.
Here we go.
Fab! What?
Beautifully
Was
called.
it?
Yeah,
Was it?
Beautifully
Oh,
called.
maybe I'm getting better.
So here we are. Pod 280's Fab Fact.
Right, that's a very formal introduction. Is that what it says on the...
No, it doesn't. I made that bit up. Richard, have you ever watched a TV show or film?
Yes.
Seen one of the actors and seen what they're wearing and thought, hang on, I've got one of them. The clothes, not the...
Not the actor.
Not the actor.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
a minute. I've got a John Pertwee. No. You mean
but maybe
I've got a shirt like John Pertwee's wearing?
Or I've got a cape, exactly.
Yeah.
Perhaps...
Have you got a cape?
no, but I want to
I
invest
could
in
see
one.
you in a cape.
Thank you. I can see me in a cape too. But maybe you, Richard, or Podsterons, maybe you own a pair of shoes exactly like Colin Baker wore as the Sixth Doctor.
All right.
Or a pair of earrings just like Julie Goodyear wore behind the bar of the Rover's Return in Coronation Street.
I can see that means nothing to you.
I know what Coronation Street is.
Yeah,
I
but
know
do you know
Julie
Julie
Goodyear is.
Goodyear?
Yeah, of course
okay,
I do.
fine. What was the name of her character then?
I've got no idea. I've never watched Coronation Street.
It was Bet Lynch.
Oh, but no, I'm aware of the show.
Okay.
And for our non-UK listeners, it's
Oh,
a
they'll
soap.
Yes, they'll know Coronation Street. It's
They might
worldwide.
not.
Well, of course they might not, but you could say that about any Fab Fact.
Right, well-
they might not have heard of New Captain Scarlet.
They're not here. Come on, Podsterons, if you don't know what Coronation Street is, please email podcast@gerryanderson.com. Anyway, of course, you'd never imagine that the item of clothing on screen and the item of clothing in your wardrobe were one and the same.
Well-
would you?
That'd be a nonsense, plainly.
Well, would it?
What?
Please spare a thought for Space Precinct editor Matt Glenn.
Oh, yes.
Matt is John Glenn's son.
I know.
John Glenn, former. I know you know. I'm telling the
I'm
Podsterons.
sorry.
Goodness me. So Matt, John Glenn's son, was an accomplished editor in his own right and had joined the series several months in. One day, Matt was walking past the wardrobe department and saw a jacket on a mannequin that seemed familiar.
Oh, yes.
It was due to be worn by creature actor, or so-called mime artist, Rob Thurtle, as a Tarn thug in one of the later episodes, Death Watch Part 1.
Yes.
Which is subject of a recent Fab
Featured
Fact.
recently, absolutely, yeah.
The trouble was, even though Matt could see it had been somewhat modified ahead of its appearance on the studio floor, it bore a startling resemblance to a jacket he had previously bought in Spain several years previously.
Right.
So Matt casually asked costume buyer Charlotte Sewell where she had found it. On hearing that she had bought it from a charity shop in Beaconsfield, Matt's suspicions were roused
Why?
because he lived nearby.
Ah.
He called his wife to ask where the jacket was, only for her to claim that she had put it in the loft,
Okay.
clearly for safekeeping.
That's a euphemism.
Yes, well, it is now. When he pressed her further, however, she confessed to never having liked the thing and to having recently given it to a local charity shop. Yes.
Oh, I see.
As it had been heavily customised.
Yes.
It's not clear if Matt took the jacket back or not, but it just goes to show that even a $1 million an episode TV series isn't above scouring the local charity shops for costume ideas.
Yeah. Wow.
There you go.
Interesting.
So, viewers, we're used to hearing from fans who have been in receipt of screen-worn items of costumes from Dad's shows, but is Matt the only person out there whose old cast-offs made it onto a TV show?
Oh, wow.
Maybe your 70s tie turned up on The Tomorrow People, or perhaps your battered old wellies turned up in the series finale of The Last of the Summer Wine.
Was
I
there a
know mine
series
did.
finale? I think it's still going, isn't it?
I've got no idea. Do let us know.
Yeah. Oh, wow. How interesting.
Well,
Yes, I do remember that well. And Matt Glenn's a lovely chap, isn't he? We should get him on the podcast. I know we've had his dad, of course.
yeah, of course, Matt, if you're listening.
If you're listening.
Well, sure he is.
Do you think so? Do you think anyone who's ever worked on a Gerry Anderson show would make a beeline for the podcast every week?
I know that some of them do listen.
Cool.
Absolutely. But I received a text last night from somebody who was listening to our Matthew Sweet episode.
Oh, wonderful.
Saying how much they enjoyed it. And Chris Bowden,
Yes.
regular listener, contributor,
Yeah.
and worker on stuff of Dad's shows, Lavender Castle in
listener?
particular, is a regular listener.
Well,
so, hello, Chris.
I mean, I know someone who worked on one of your dad's shows who's in the podcast every week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fascinating.
No,
Anyway.
I tell you what's interesting. You mentioned there Rob Thurtle.
Yes.
Being one of the sort of creature actors, also known as a mime artist. Do you want to know more about that, or should I save that for another day?
It depends how interesting it is.
It's of minor interest, maybe 3 or 4 listeners and viewers.
Mimer interest? Okay, please do. Please
Well,
do add
because
this
of course Andy Dawson went to your dad previous to Space Precinct with the idea with Gavin Robertson for the stage show.
Absolutely.
And they were considered mime artists because a lot of that show featured mime. So when Gerry then employed the likes of Andy and Rob and so on, they were just considered mime artists because that's what they did. But actually, of course, they were just actors like the rest of us.
And they said things and did things.
They said things and did things, yeah. But the phrase or term mime artist stuck in all the call sheets. Very odd.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that was
bonus.
quite a nice little addition there.
Bonus Fab Fact.
Thank you very much.
From my brain.
You're amazing.
Oh, kind of you.
Anyway, I don't want to be any more nice to you, so let's wrap this up.
Fine.
That brings us to the end of this week's
Jacket Fact!
Oh, thank goodness.
Well done. Great. Yeah. Thanks for being so nice to me there. It's nice.
all right.
Made me feel a lot better.
Don't worry, I won't do it again.
Oh, is it just once a month or was it
Yeah, it's,
every couple?
it's about the same frequency that we say the same thing at the end of the Fab Facts, kind of 1 in 4.
I think you're nice to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about right. Now, talking of people being nice to people, aren't our podsterons nice to us?
That was a glorious segue.
Yes, because it's true. Because without them, there would be no podcast.
No, that's true.
That's a fact. That's not just a platitude.
No, they are brilliant and so nice and so welcoming. And as we've seen at various events and stuff, welcoming to new fans and old fans alike.
Yeah.
What a lovely bunch.
Yeah, and when they're not too busy, they put finger to keyboard and they send us emails, podcast@gerryanderson.com.
They might dictate them.
I suppose they could dictate what to their secretaries.
No, to their phones.
Oh, I see. I had an image there of a podsteron leaning back in their chair with a cigar. Miss Jones, take an email, please. Yes, to the podcast at Gerry Anderson. No, that's not what you meant at all, is it?
No, but if you dictate your emails to us, podsterons, please do let us know by adding dictated but not read to the end of your email.
Right.
Good.
Shall we hear some emails from the podsterons?
Let's do it.
All right.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Shall I do this one first? Or do you want to do it first?
Well, I saw the word sucker and thought that was probably for you. So,
Okay.
Yes,
Well, all right.
please do.
Let's hear it in context, shall we, before we rush to judgment?
Okay, all right.
Now, I do like it that our podsterons are actually starting to use the subject headings that we suggest.
It's very generous of you.
Here's one. Out of Podder's experience is the subject heading.
That's from many pods ago, isn't it?
Absolutely right. This is from Sebastian Fellingham, who says, "Hello, Jamie and Richard from the Dordogne in France."
Oh, very fancy.
Oh, isn't it? I'm a sucker for a lot of Gerry Anderson shows, including Thunderbirds, Stingray, Captain Scarlet, Terrorhawk, Space Precinct, and even Lavender Castle.
Why even Lavender Castle?
There you go. And I've been following your brilliant podcast every week for the last 4 years without fail. That's great.
So how long it's been going?
Oh, at least.
Gosh.
But Sebastian, it's taken you this long to get in touch with us. I don't think we've had an email from Sebastian before.
Well, thank you for reaching out.
Yeah. Just thought I'd share with you a rare oddity that I had discovered in a shop called Easy Cash, which sounds like my kind of shop. Which, in case you're wondering, is the French equivalent to the second-hand media shop Kex. CEX. I think we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Computer Exchange, I think it stands for, doesn't it?
Yeah, back in the old days.
Yeah. I was scrolling through some DVDs, talking of the old days, they had in the special offer bin, and I've just stumbled across a very strange release of a film called Galacticop, the French title of a lesser-known American family film under the name of A Gnome Called Norm.
What?
Starring Anthony Michael Hall, who is a Los Angeles police detective teaming up with a small dwarf-sized animatronic creature called Norm to solve a murder. Sebastian's words.
Okay.
When I first discovered it, I thought I found a rare copy of Space Precinct dubbed in French on DVD. But as it turned out, while I googled Galacticop on my phone, it was something else entirely, which also involves actors playing police officers with animatronic creatures.
But small ones in this case.
Obviously. But the DVD cover used the Demeter City Police Department emblem from Space Precinct's trademark logo with the same text font saying Galacticop. Having left it behind in the store, as you would,
Fair enough.
I also found out Polygram Filmed Entertainment distributed the film rights to Galacticop, or A Gnome Called Norm, like with the VHS releases of Space Precinct. On top of that, the internet seems to tell me that Space Precinct may not have aired on French television, so how they decided to choose that logo for a different film entirely with a similar premise is beyond me. Wish you all the best. Adieu from Sebastian Fellingham in the Dordogne.
Adieu, merci. I mean,
Yeah. Extraordinary.
That's very naughty that they use the same logo.
And it is the same. You sent a picture with that email, and it is the Space Precinct shield with the Space Precinct lettering, just not saying Space Precinct.
That is in breach of copyright, I think.
Well,
I mean,
don't shoot the messenger.
Polygram are gone now, aren't they?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And also statute of limitations and all that. Probably can't do anything now.
Wasn't Space Precinct shown in France? I know it was bought by an awful lot of territories. You'd
Yeah, I
think
don't
it-
know. I've never seen a French dub of it.
No.
So, but I don't think I've seen any foreign language
No.
dubs of Space Precinct.
Exactly. That'd be interesting. Tell us, did you see it? Are you living abroad? And did you see Space Precinct in the 90s, dubbed into a foreign accent?
I don't like the way you're delivering those in a very 1970s style. Yes, interesting. Thank you, Sebastian. And
yeah.
thanks for emailing. I have one here.
Yes.
Opens with felicitations.
Oh, that's nice.
Jamie the Bishop Anderson, Father Richard N. Unwin,
Right.
and Mrs. Chris Appleby. Not my words, Chris, the words of Clive. I felt compelled to email because I have, after months of prevarication,
Yes.
eventually watched The Secret Service.
Right.
Well done, Clive. Life-changing stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the start of the episode, including and especially the opening theme, I was certain this had been a mistake, and I was prepared to switch off.
Okay.
Clive, how
Yeah.
could you?
Yeah.
I have now finished the first disc of the DVD set as a massive binge and absolutely love it.
Oh, you
what
see?
a turnaround.
Won over.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
The Secret Service is as insane as Gerry Anderson ever got, and it's wonderful. I beg to differ, Candy and Andy.
We'll be hearing more about that later, yes.
Stanley Unwin is mesmerising as the gobbledygook-speaking secret agent priest. That's quite a mouthful, that. Every mission involves, in some way, shrinking his gardener and putting him in a briefcase. Yes, standard. Using a shrink ray hidden in the Bible. This world-changing piece of technology is given to a rambling clergyman to resolve international espionage, of course.
That seems completely rational to me.
Totally rational.
Could happen.
To describe it to anyone would not do the Secret Service justice, as you just have to watch it and totally immerse yourself in the world without asking any questions. I think that's right. It's escapist Anderson perfection, and I even find myself singing the theme tune now. Gosh, it's a fugue, so that's quite complicated,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes, it is. Well, you had to go
Impressive.
yourself, didn't you? Many moons ago.
I only did the first bit, the hymn
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
P.S. Why does Mrs. Appleby hate Matthew so much? She's always on his case, and he's the gardener, so she's not in charge of him anyway, that miserable old goat. God, all right, Clive.
Steady.
Oh, poor Mrs. Appleby.
Crikey.
Anyway, I digress. Deep joy, FAB, so long, and thanks for all the podcasts.
Oh,
From
that's
Clive
nice.
Lewis. Thank you, Clive.
Very Douglas Adams at the end.
Yeah, very nice. Well, I'm amazed that we've got another Secret Service convert. Well, I'm not really amazed, but I'm
Yeah.
pleased. I'm pleased.
Yeah. Another one for the list.
As to the Mrs. Appleby versus Matthew issue, well, I don't know if you know this, Clive, but we have an upcoming bookazine
Yes.
called The Secrets of the Secret Service, written by our very own Chris Dale. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
So he's written that book, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
In that book, we also have all of the very limited run of comic strips of the Secret Service.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm reliably informed by the author of this book,
Chris Dale. Yeah.
that your answer will be found within that first comic strip.
Oh, what a tease.
Yeah, so I can't possibly tell you on the podcast.
Yeah.
Top secret. I don't want to be in trouble with Bishop. But yes, your answer is in the pages of The Secrets of the Secret Service, coming very soon.
Interesting. Talking to Chris Dale, I think he's my favourite of the Gerry Anderson team.
Is he?
Yeah, he is now.
I feel like
yeah.
you're flip-flopping a bit, because you had another favourite before.
Yeah, he's gone down in my estimation a bit.
What did he do to deserve
No,
that?
nothing in particular, but I just like Chris.
Oh, fair
just
enough.
like what he does. Caleb got in touch and said, "Hi, pod people, that's us."
Hi,
Pod
Caleb.
people. A while ago, you mentioned that for the Barbie movie, the company built a real house to promote it. That's true. We did mention that. You then followed it by joking about building a real Tracy Island. Yes, which sounds absolutely incredible, but a bit unrealistic.
I don't think we said Tracy Island. I think we said
The house. I think.
the Tracy
The roundhouse.
villa. Yeah.
Yes. What is realistic, though, says Caleb, is building Jeff Tracy's office/lounge. I'd love to see this happen. What do you think?
A full-size Tracy lounge. Well, it would be lovely, wouldn't it?
I mean, if it's going to happen anywhere, it's got to happen here at the Moxie in Slough, isn't it?
I'm not sure they've got the space. It's quite a spacious lounge.
Yeah, but it could be sort of part of the, downstairs kind of lounging about area, couldn't it?
Right. Well, do you want to propose that to the manager, Chris, here?
I will,
see what
and
they
I'll
think?
say it was Caleb's idea and nothing to do with me.
Good idea. And if not, we can always say it was Chris Dale.
Oh, yeah, yeah. let's do that. All for now, but do drop us a line at podcast@gerryanderson.com. We love to receive your emails, and we generally read them out pretty much every week.
For the most part,
I
yeah.
don't think there's a week where we haven't read out some emails from our podsterons.
No, I think you're right.
Right, good.
They're always contributing somehow.
Yeah, they are.
I'm feeling in need of some news.
Yeah, you look a bit awkward there.
I'm always awkward, but especially today.
All right, do you want to do it now?
Should we hand over to Specky for some news?
Let's do that.
Over to you. Hello to all you Anderson fans out there, it's Jamie back again with another week of thrilling news from the worlds of Gerry Anderson. As always, there's a lot to get through, so let's jump right in. Big news for fans of The Day After Tomorrow, Into Infinity. We are bringing this classic to you in a special edition Blu-ray, fully restored and remastered both in picture and sound. Plus, it's packed with special features that will dazzle even the most dedicated fans. So stay tuned for more details coming very soon. This Friday marks the launch of our eagerly awaited collectibles range, featuring none other than, of course, Eagle One and the Rescue Eagle. These are part of a very limited edition series, so be sure to place your pre-order to secure these exquisite models. You will not want to miss out. For those who've been eagerly anticipating the arrival of Candy and Andy, well, the wait is nearly over. Prepare yourselves for a vibrant array of colour photos featuring the mannequin children and their unique bipedal panda parents. Shipping begins this week. Don't forget, our 2024 calendars are here and ready to adorn your walls. Whether you're a Thunderbirds enthusiast or a Space 1999 fan, we've got you covered. Grab yours today and prepare for the upcoming year in style. To all model kit enthusiasts, we have some exciting news. If you're planning to attend the International Plastic Modelers Society event in Telford this November, well, we'll be there too, with a variety of kits and even some exclusive free gifts. We can't wait to see you there. And of course, our YouTube channel continues to thrive with new content. Dive deeper into Dad's life and career with our latest videos offering a more personal and intriguing set of stories. Check it all out at youtube.com/GerryAndersonTV. And with that, we are truly done for this week. Keep your eyes on the skies, your ears open for the iconic tunes, and your hearts ready for more adventures. It's a big universe out there filled with endless possibilities and Anderson surprises. So take care, stay safe, keep the spirit of adventure alive. Until next time, FAB. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Always some news.
Yeah.
I'm a bit gutted though that you've now reined back on the singing because you've done so well for a
Look,
couple of
I've
weeks.
been a bit ill. I'm a bit under the weather. The last thing I wanted to do was sing at the top of my lungs. Okay,
What about the bottom?
I'm resting myself.
Okay.
So I'm not singing just for a little while. Is that all right?
Well, I hope you feel better soon and you're in fine voice in the very near future, perhaps even next episode? No? Okay.
I make no promises.
Good. Okay, fine.
Now, there's something weird that's happened in the Gerry Anderson universe over the last few weeks. I don't know if you noticed, a special book has arrived chronicling the adventures of two life-sized mannequins, Candy and Andy, and
so
their
weird.
parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bearander.
Or captors, we don't know.
Anyway, to find out more, I think it's time for our special featurette/interview that happened in the kitchen of my house.
I cannot wait for this. I love your kitchen.
This week's guest thought he'd stumbled into a parallel universe when he walked into a charity shop in the 90s and found a TV annual for sale. A universe where two huge doll children lived in an English village with their panda parents. Turns out it was all true. He's here to tell us more about Candy and Andy and his new book devoted to them. It's Alan Dein. We're here to talk about something rather special. Ordinarily, we have guests along to talk to us about one of Gerry's perhaps more outstanding series. UFO, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet and so on. But you're here to talk about something a little different, aren't you?
Yeah, significantly, it's not about a TV series. It's about a comic book and a storybook that was produced at the golden age of Century 21 and Gerry Anderson's work in the 60s. It's called Candy. But Candy was a comic that began in the beginning of 1967, very key year. So Thunderbirds had just finished its TV run. And of course, the whole Scarlet universe was waiting. Next thing was Captain Scarlet on the way. But in the middle is Candy.
Right.
And Candy is not a TV series. And just to set the record straight,
Yeah.
it was never intended to be a TV series.
Hold that thought. That's great. We'll be coming back to Candy very shortly, whetted her appetite. But you may or may not know, with all our guests, we like to play a little game.
I'm
And
up for
it's,
it.
Good. It's called Super Identification. I'm going to show you some very quick clips from every one of Gerry's TV series, the opening titles. And I'd like you to try and see how many
Okay.
you can identify. So shout out when you see one you know. Ready for this?
I am indeed.
Take a look at this.
Is that Twizzle or Battery Boy? Thunderbird? No, number 2. Oh, that is Supercar? No. That's 5 Bullets and 5. That's Supercar. Fireball. Stingray. No, it's just perfection. Captain Scarlet, which I actually love. Joe 90. Oh, Secret Service. Sort of connection with Candy, actually. UFO. Brilliant. The Protectors. Space 1999.
This is an emergency.
Terrible. Oh, what's that one? Spanner? Dick Spanner, maybe?
The place of legend. Favorite
Space Precinct?
Alan, well done.
Yeah.
You actually got, I think there were 18 in total. How well do you think you did?
I think I certainly... 15?
You absolutely got 15.
Okay.
Well
wow.
done, yes.
Yeah.
Now,
What did I struggle with?
well, you struggled with the earlier ones, of course. Twizzle you got, then Torchy came next, which you weren't quite sure about. Full Feather Falls.
Oh, the
was-
cowboy one.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Now it makes sense.
Yes.
And then we were into Supercar, which you knew straight away, the 5XR5 and so on. And then the later one, Space Precinct, you got a beat later. I think.
Right, okay.
Lavender Castle? Lavender Castle?
lost
Gerry's
one.
last
I never saw that.
series.
Interesting. No, I never saw that.
Well, then New Captain Scarlet, the last series.
Ah, right, of course.
CGI.
Yeah.
But well done. So
Thank
13
you.
is a very good score.
Okay.
Now, ordinarily, Alan, I would be writing your score on a little maquette of you in the Thunderbirds song and sticking it on the table, but we'll have to wait until we're back in the studio to do that.
Okay.
But well done.
No, I'm pleased. I'm pleased I did okay because obviously I'm here talking about Candy,
Yeah.
but I'm also here, of course, because I'm a fan.
Yeah, well, plainly so. So which came first? Being a fan of the shows or having your work taking you into those shows?
Without a doubt, being a fan. I grew up in the 60s. I was born in 1961, so I'm a child of the 60s. As a child of the 60s, what else is there as well as the kind of the life of the Beatles, Rolling Stones?
Yeah.
There is the
Yeah.
world of supermarination,
Yeah.
and for me, I think my first memory of Gerry Anderson's work was most probably watching a Standard 8 film of Fireball XL5
Right.
at a friend's birthday party.
Ah, lovely.
You know what? You all sat around. There was a screen put up, and
Yeah.
the dad would have the projector, and you'd watch. And I think, and I was mesmerised.
Yeah.
And then I think most probably the first TV series I watched, as it was happening, was probably Thunderbirds.
Uh-huh.
But of course, all of this was in black and white
Yeah, right.
at that time.
Yeah.
So in a way, there was two worlds of Anderson in the 60s. There was watching it on TV,
Yeah.
and then there was the comics.
Yeah.
And so I think it was the comics as well that really got me into it. Sort of TV 21. That was probably the thing that just because it was so tactile, you could look at it over and over again.
Great, yes.
It wasn't just once a week or anything. It was
Yes.
there all the time.
That's right.
And of course, it was the world before we could repeat anything.
Yeah.
The VHS and DVDs and so forth.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing you could have with you all the time.
Yeah. A previous guest, Lee Sullivan, who's a comics illustrator,
Right.
talks about the smell of things. the smell of the comics, the smell of the toys. And I think that sort of stuff is so important.
I know, totally, and I think there's two things. There's obviously the kind of the Proustian concept of smell, in the sense of as you're much older, looking back in your childhood. But there is something about that tactile quality, and I think the great thing about Supermarination was it was so three-dimensional. Because it wasn't human, but it was just felt. It felt like you could sort of touch this stuff. It felt there was something surreal about it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the power of the Anderson world. And I actually also have a photograph, which you could have a look at some point, which is me and my sister dressed up as Captain Scarlet and Lady Penelope in my grandma's front room.
Great.
And they were the play suits.
Great.
We got them for Christmas.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And you know, we are standing there as sort of sentient beings, but totally locked into the world of Anderson. You know, which was pretty much is a part of how I recall the '60s. Is that world really?
Were those experiences then, as a youngster, instrumental in you becoming a broadcaster, an historian?
I think historian. I started off my working career. I started off as an oral historian. I worked for local museums, and then I moved into the British Library, and I spent some years training as an oral historian at the British Library, and then travelling the nation, interviewing people. So most of my work was primarily about people's stories, people's life stories. So I was fascinated by the human experience and people telling their stories, and particularly stories that weren't often told. So that was part of my interest, and then I moved into radio broadcasting.
It's funny, isn't it, how each of Gerry's eras of production, shall we say, are so synonymous with the decades in which they're set. If you are a Thunderbirds Captain Scarlet Candy fan, it's all about the 60s. If you're into UFO Space 1999, it's the 70s and the fashions that went with that, and the concepts and the ideas and so on.
Yeah. I think for most of us, that Supermarination period is very specific, because it had so much more. It was about the storylines. It was about the incredible kind of concepts around the stories. But I think as well, there was something about the music that was part of it. Mm-hmm. It was such a sense around experience, because you got everything. You got these wonderful characters, but the music was it was in your head, and it stays in your head to this day.
Absolutely right.
There was no two ways about it. I think that connection between Gerry Anderson and Barry Gray was an absolute masterstroke. Yeah. I think it lifted everything to another level. Yeah. So I'm a fan, and just sort of stepping forward a little bit. By the 1980s. I kind of was already interested. I was very involved in sort of social movements at the time. I was quite involved in the punk movements. I did fanzines and things like that. And I was very inspired by what was happening around in the 70s. But at the same time, I kind of lost my way into the 80s. I wasn't really interested in new romanticism. I wasn't really interested in Margaret Thatcher's experiment for the nation. Yeah. So I kind of in a way drifted back into the 60s. And interest in the 60s music and so forth, 60s politics. And one of the things that really, I expect, like a lot of people who have had a bit of free time on their hands sometimes, we go into charity shops. And I found this.
Aha, right.
So, and I found this annual. This is the very annual I found. Yeah. It was 10p. I remember that. And you can see that, can't you? Candy.
Yeah. And when are we talking? When did you discover this?
That must have been about the mid-80s.
Right.
So I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And, of course, as I was looking at it, I had no memory of Candy at all. Yeah. And as I was looking at it, I realised straight away, this is the work of Gerry Anderson. This is the work of Century 21. And I had no idea about it. And of course, it was confirmed because on the credits it says Century 21, 1967.
But there was something about the quality, the aesthetic.
It's the aesthetic straight away. Yes. Obviously, it's the puppets. It's the puppets. But of course, what was so intriguing is that they were life size, which was bizarre. The mini, the stripy mini was just wonderful. And of course, the Bearanders. How bonkers is this? And as I was reading through this annual, I was wondering, look at the back picture of that. It's fantastic. You've got a lovely sort of wintry outing In the Striped Mini, the Bearanders, parents, foster parents, guardians, we do not know, with Candy and Andy. But so beautifully constructed, and realised it could only be the work of the Anderson team.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the expertise, the skills of the people who were creating the models, the designs, the props were so incredible, as we know. And if they put their minds to something, they could do something like this.
Yeah.
And they could do it quite brilliantly, but of course, it was wonderfully bonkers.
Now, the first question I would ask if I discovered that in a charity shop in the 80s, well, this is a series, why don't I remember it?
Exactly. And so, of course, I knew pretty much everything that happened in the 60s.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
And the fact that I didn't remember it, I realised straight away this was not a TV series.
Uh-huh.
This had not been created for the screen at all. This was obviously something that was a sideline, a side project. And then how the story evolves is in the early 90s, when I was working for the British Library, I was also working on a project called the Oral History of British Photography. And I thought, well, why don't I try and find something who took some pictures for Gerry Anderson?
Right.
So at the same time, one of my colleagues on the project was putting together an exhibition at the Barbican Art Gallery in London called Who's Looking at the Family? Val Williams is a very acclaimed photographic historian. And she said, why don't you're interested in Candy, and I just looked at these images and I said they work really well in the exhibition. And so how it came about is that for the exhibition, I got to interview Gerry and Doug Luke.
Right. Okay.
And Doug was one of the great
Yes.
stills photographers
Indeed.
who worked with Gerry Anderson for many years on so many different projects. And he had been years in the film industry. You know, I think before he worked with Gerry, he was working on the Beatles' Help film,
Right.
and then moved on to
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
you know, from the Beatles to Thunderbirds.
Yeah,
you know,
there you go.
Exactly. They were a bit hazy about Candy. You know, Doug had photographed Candy a lot, but I think it's so many other things he'd done. And he remembered certain things very well.
Yeah.
And other things he sort of struggled with a bit.
Yeah.
So there was still a lot of research to do.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I had put the word about that I was interested in Candy. Someone had heard about it as a dealer at a comics convention, and he'd found some original transparencies
Right.
from Candy.
Yes.
Which told a lot, because
Yes.
of course some of them were 2-inch square, some of them were larger format. The quality was superb. And looking at those transparencies, it really kind of captivated me to find out more. When you look at the original transparencies, the quality, it just is on another level, of course. So you're literally looking into that world, the
Amazing.
world that was produced at the time for
Absolutely.
the comic book. So it was so beautiful. So I was so intrigued by that. And then really, what happened was that the exhibition opened at the Barbican with, you know, endorsed by Gerry and Doug, you know, because they were in the exhibition.
Yeah,
to some
yeah.
extent. And so there was a great deal of excitement around it, and there was articles in the papers about Candy. It's interesting. The exhibition has some great photographers from all around the world, past and present, and the press were intrigued about Candy.
Really?
They were thinking, you know, Lady Penelope's long lost niece.
Okay.
I think that was the Daily Mail.
Does that quite work?
But you know, because they knew Anderson Thunderbirds and
Yes.
Candy.
That's
We'd
right.
never heard of it. These are intriguing. They're bizarre. They're strange. They're
Yeah.
fascinating. What is it about them? You know, why don't we remember them? It was done with incredible expertise, but it just didn't seem to click.
Mm.
It didn't last. It lasted, give or take, a year.
Right.
It's a very short life.
Yes.
So really, what happens is that as I was researching the project, I found the annuals. What was more difficult to find are the comics, because things like TV21, which are obviously, you know, all of your viewers are totally know. You know, this is actually I think my only copy of it actually, but it's classic, isn't it? This is from 1966. You know, this is sold in huge numbers, but it was treasured. These were treasured by an older reader. But of course, Candy comes along, beautifully produced. That's the comic that came out in January 1967. And the thing about this is number one of Candy, and you turn the page and you've got beautiful colour. The same printers as TV21.
Right. Okay.
So it really is really beautiful. So the photographic strips are incredibly well produced, and then you have the likes of Winnie the Pooh, Thunderbirds for little children, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
Tinker and Tucker, who were a popular TV feature at the time.
Right.
A lovely image of Stripey, Bengo. So what you get is a mixture of Candy, which is the photography, with strips, with comic strips for the youngsters. I managed to find a site. Obviously, I researched and found more issues of Candy, found more annuals and storybooks, and really, it's amazing. These storybooks there's another annual here, another storybook. This is wonderful. It's so wonderful. The penny for the guy. I particularly like that one. So what's so interesting is that Thunderbirds, Scarlet are in the future. Candy is now. So it's a little bit like Joe 90 was now.
Yeah.
But Secret Service and so forth.
Yeah.
But Candy is now. But also the whole point of it, because it was photographic, and Candy and Andy were the same size as children of their age, they could interact. So there was lots of imagery of Candy and Andy with real children.
Quite bizarre.
And real children were invited to join them, in the comic competitions. When there's competition,
Wow.
have a day out with Candy and Andy. Go to Longleat, see the wildlife with Candy and Andy. So they were your friends.
Yes.
And of course, the question that most probably a lot of people are totally intrigued about is that yes, Candy and Andy are lifelike. They look like a boy and a girl, albeit a boy and a girl who have escaped the village of the damned, the classic film of John Wyndham's Midwich Cuckoos, the blonde-haired spooky alien children. But nevertheless, their parents aren't humanoid in shape.
Yes.
They are giant pandas.
Yes.
Now, when I interviewed Gerry Anderson, this was back in about 93, so this is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He thought that the panda element was a brilliant idea because the nation had gone panda crazy, giant panda crazy in the late 50s, because Chi-Chi had arrived from China all the way to London Zoo.
Yeah.
And people were queuing around the block to see this giant panda. We'd gone giant panda crazy. Here's the book. So the book comes out at the end of October. Jamie does the introduction, and there's a foreword, and I write the essay about the story of Candy, and it's a series of photographs, and these are all taken from the original transparencies. And then I think that's another touch. I think I mentioned it earlier, but what's beautiful, because it's photography, and because the comics and the annuals did use a much cruder form of paper, they never intended to reproduce the photographs in their magnificence. What you get for the first time is really beautifully produced examples of these incredible photographs that were taken. I love the one of the blacksmith.
Yeah.
So Candy and Andy meet the blacksmith at the neighbouring village, and this is Mr. Sibley, who was from a long family of blacksmiths.
Right. Okay.
So he was kind of well known in the village.
I see. Yeah.
So real kids sort of waving Candy and Andy goodbyes after a lovely adventure. It's there's the Mini again. And also, let's face it, the Mini. If there's ever a symbol of 60s Britain, I know the Mini actually was invented in the late 50s.
Yeah.
But as ever a symbol of 60s Britain is the Mini, and of course a stripy Mini to boot. And
now tell us how the book came about then.
Right.
Where did the idea come from, and who approached who?
So what happened with the book is that I had been sitting on this stuff, and I'd worked with Four Corners publishers on a previous book. And we were in conversation. I said, well, I've got these negatives. I've got these transparencies. This is what they are. They looked at them, took one look and said, these are fantastic. These are fabulous. They've never been reproduced like this. Let's put a book together. Yeah. And we approached Jamie Anderson, and Jamie was delighted to be part of it and thought, wrote the forewords and sort of, in a way, I'm sure he would agree. This is part of the wider picture of what the Anderson team were doing at that time.
Yes.
And I think it needs to be out in the world. And I think the other thing about the book publishers, Four Corners, they're an art book publishers, and I think they took an artistic perspective. They wanted the book to look something a bit special, and they produced something that was very tactile. It's lovely.
It is lovely, yeah.
Lovely black and gold cover with this is one of Doug Luke's photographs on the cover, and just beautifully produced. And I just think it sort of in a way lifts Candy into the 21st century.
Right. Yes.
And I think it's a good chance for people. Of course, I'd love to think that the Anderson fans would enjoy it,
Yeah.
but a wider audience as
Yeah.
well, younger people who may be not aware of that world,
Yeah.
could see this and just see. And I think what is interesting, why it fits into the Anderson world, is that obviously Gerry was fascinated with puppetry, miniature. Obviously, this is real size, but there is something about the miniature. The image of a plastic-coated boy and girl that still fits into the sort of Anderson oeuvre.
Well, I mean, talking of that, where does it sit then in the Anderson legacy? Does it deserve its place, do you think, in the whole stretch of...
Of course it deserves its place. Obviously, as I am not bigging up Candy as a sort of rival to the masterpieces. I'm a child of the 60s, so for me, Stingray, Thunderbirds, and Captain Scarlet, and Fireball.
Yeah.
I just, I can go on.
Yeah.
We could go on. And so I wouldn't compare them. I wouldn't. I think they're different, but I think it's important to recognise that if you're doing something creatively at a time and you have got a team of such talent around you, you can have a go and do something and try. And I think it was an experiment that didn't work, but I think that it was a success in its own right because it was done so well. And I think that's the important thing. And of course, it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's completely
That's
bonkers.
right. It is, yeah.
And I think that, as I said, I'm trying to kind of give you an art perspective of it all, but it is wonderfully bonkers. And I think that is part of the charm as well.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is just briefly is I talked about the sort of Englishness of it, and I think that there's something interesting about how sort of the nation looked in colour in the 60s. Because if you go back to even Anderson's work, if you go back to Torchy or even Supercar, Fireball, they're very much part of the black and white world. They're the 50s. Fireball is the kind of the 60s coming in.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, there's this explosion of colour
Yeah.
as the nation swings.
Yeah.
Carnaby Street and everything.
Yeah.
And I think in a way, Candy's very much part of that. It's very much part of the quaint English village, which was sort of old-fashioned, the old blacksmith and so forth, which was, you could imagine old photographers going around with black and white pictures taking them.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, this is in swinging
Yeah.
British 60s colour.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also part of the charm, is it really captures the nation at that time. So I think it's a fascinating.
You seem
fascinating
a little like a man on a mission to bring this stuff more into the public eye. Is it job done, do you hope? Or do you have more plans for Candy and Andy?
It would be amazing if someone said, I love this so much, I'd love to turn it into some kind of super marinated project, or some kind of...
Yeah.
And so, let's wait and see. I think the key thing is, what I really would like to do is to kind of offer up this book as an opportunity to see what was going on at that time and what Candy was about, where it would lead to. Mm-hmm. That would be also up to those who read the book, enjoy it, and see what they get out of it. And I'll be very interested to hear from Anderson fans themselves about how they think it could be developed. It'd be interesting to hear from Jamie if he thinks there's a way of developing it in other ways.
That's right.
If there is an interest, you never know. People
know.
might look at it just as they did in the 60s and think, this is too bonkers. This is so out there. Just slide it at the bottom of the kind of the stack of books. So you never know.
You say that you'd like to hear from Anderson fans about their experience of the book, so where can they get in touch with you? Are you on any social medias? Or?
Yeah, the best one is most probably Instagram.
Yeah.
Instagram is where I'm also promoting the book on Instagram.
Okay.
So you can find me on Instagram. And also I think that obviously through you, it would be great to, if anyone wants to write directly to you, that would be fantastic. You pass it on, that would be fantastic.
Yes,
and you say I'm a man on a mission. To a certain extent, of course, I am, because I'd like to. Candy had been forgotten.
Yeah,
and I do feel it's important to have an opportunity, if an opportunity arose, to be able to present this work in it. And obviously, the sad thing, of course, is that what has been lost.
Yeah, indeed.
Just like so many other things.
That's right.
When I met with Doug, he had 4 transparencies in a little portfolio of his work over the years.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing, so much of it. And I suppose that the way that is interesting is the transience of that time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that no one thought, did people think that we'll be talking about Thunderbirds and everything else?
That's right.
In the 21st century? Century 21?
Yeah.
It was like so many toys and programs for kids, they're of their time and things move on. But there's been this ongoing fascination with the work of Anderson, which I think is there because it's great.
Yeah.
So
it's been fascinating talking to you. So very enlightening. Candy Andy and the Bearanders. There it is. It's a beautiful thing. I think available through the Gerry Anderson store.
Yes.
So we can find it there. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me, Alan Dein.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Richard.
Alan Dein, that was nice.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Extraordinary to find someone with such a passion about such a niche project and product.
But thank goodness there are people who are so passionate about such niches.
And it's taken him years.
Yes.
Decades of his life.
Well, Alan and I have been emailing for years. Not wasted. No, because it's all culminated in this lovely book. And Alan and I have been emailing for years.
Yeah.
And to sort of see this thing finally happen is bonkers. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm very lucky he did leave a copy behind him when he left. And that is now on my coffee table.
Brilliant.
And I'm looking forward to the first time someone comes around and just idly flicks through and thinks, what on earth?
That's a very strange interest you have there, Richard. Yeah.
Great. So, yes.
It's a lovely thing. The images are beautiful, and it's just so quirky and weird.
Yeah.
And I just find myself imagining Doug Luke, the photographer, doing all of these setups, being outside in country lanes or by the river, and passers by thinking, what is he doing?
And not just that, but, having everything in the back of his car.
Yeah.
Just pitching up, taking out these mannequins, taking some pictures, stuffing them back, and off he goes.
Just utterly bizarre and wonderful.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Thank you to Alan very much for his time and for joining me for that little interview. Next week, I think we've got Mark Braxton from the Radio Times joining us.
Should we mention the Radio Times now you've said that?
What about the Radio Times?
Well, I just happen to have this copy here.
Oh, yes. Now, I have to say, the fact that Mark is joining us and the fact that he left a very nice review for us in the Radio Times are 2 facts that are not actually linked at all.
Because on page 112 of this edition of the Radio Times, there's only a blooming review of our podcast.
That's right. It's nice, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Yeah, so thank you, Mark. That's really kind of you.
Mark. That's so kind. And if you are listening or watching now,
God, because you've read the review.
Because of the review, I'm so sorry we've let you down. But do email us anyway, podcast@gerryanderson.com.
Yeah.
And say, I'm here from the Radio Times.
Yeah. That was a couple of weeks ago now, of course. But you may be joining us for the first time, only to find the person who wrote that review is now a guest on the podcast.
Yeah, but that's just serendipity.
Of course it is. Absolutely right. Now, over on our Facebook group, our wonderful Podsterons have been commenting away. It's quite easy if you're on Facebook to navigate your way to the group just by putting in your browser facebook.com/groups/Podsterons.
Usually done, yes.
Answer a few questions, I think, and you'll be let in and let loose.
Yeah.
I think we're 10 away from a big 1,000, you know.
Oh, the 1,000 was what we were after.
I know, by Christmas I thought might happen. It keeps coming and going, but we're at 990 at the moment.
I think people are leaving the group.
They do, unfortunately.
Just too nice for them, that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly, that's right. Simon White says, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Terrorhawks, 39 years ago today, another classic series. Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends made its debut.
Yes.
With the episodes Thomas and Gordon, Thomas Gets Tricked, and Edward and Gordon, Edward Helps Out, with the introduction being done by Sergeant Major Zero and Lieutenant Hero.
Yes. Those links, some of those links are on YouTube, I think.
Yes, and CJ List then said, well, I can see the connection. That's between Thomas the Tank Engine and Terrorhawks. Each engine has a different number and personality, driven by people wearing blue overalls.
That's fair enough.
Is that a link and a connection?
Well, sort of.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks
Very
for that.
nice. Adam Reed says,
Yeah.
For you beer lovers,
Right.
my Terrorhawks beer arrived today. Very happy Anderson Entertainment are exploring new avenues, and a beer collaboration is a clever idea. I thank you very much, Adam. And this is an excellent example. Sergeant Major Zero would be proud. Well, I think he did have a bit of a drink, didn't he?
Did
Had
he?
some champagne, yeah.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Got a bit
Whose,
squiffy.
whose idea was the Terrorhawks beer?
I'm afraid to say it was mine.
Was it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because Brew York did that Captain Strata and the Nectarons
Okay.
beer, which I drank several cases of because it
Yeah.
was lovely.
Yeah.
And then we said, why don't we do a Terrorhawks beer? And so we have.
Lovely.
Yes, it's great.
Pen Quiller says, I'm reading the Thaden Monster from the Deep Stingray book that I'd bought a little while back from the GA store. I'd read all these when I was a child, but reading again as an adult, I'm amazed at the vocabulary Thaden uses. I had to look up Hadal, Hadal, Hadal. They certainly didn't believe in simplifying their language for their young readers back then. You see, teasingly, Penn gives us that word, but then doesn't tell us what it means.
We don't know what it means.
No, so we'll have to look it up now.
Shall I do that now?
Yeah, Hadal.
Yeah, okay, you do that and
Hadal.
I'll come back with that.
Yeah, Rebecca Andrews says, I picked up these today. Thunderbirds annuals from the 1990s. 1992, I think. To which David Rouse says, well, I got the Thunderbirds annual for Christmas in 1992. I think it's still around somewhere. Is that the one with the story where John manages to fumigate himself in Thunderbird 3 and nearly crashes into a major population centre? Sounds good, doesn't it? To which Matthew Alderman Harris replied, yes, it is, and our own Andrew Clements recently narrated an audiobook of it.
Of course he did, available on
Of course he did.
YouTube.
Andrew Clements being my favourite of the Gerry Anderson team, of course.
You really like to play favourites, don't you? Gosh, if you had to guess what Hadal or Hadal
Hadal
means.
or Hadal. I think it's some sort of, is it a bowl, some sort of kitchen cooking implement?
No, this is not a round of Panderson, I'm afraid. No, it's an adjective relating to the zone of the sea greater than 6,000 metres in depth. That is so specific.
Wow.
How on earth is a child reader supposed to know that?
Well, I suppose the idea is you then go to the internet, or in those days, to your
The internet in
to your
1964.
dictionary, to your dictionary.
Yeah. Yes, all right.
and you look it up.
That's so bizarre. Anyway, Pen, thanks for. I mean, I've learned something. Every day's a school day on the
And
Gerry
when is the
Anderson
next time you're
podcast.
going to use that word, do you think?
I don't think I've got any particular need to use it right now, but I might try. I've got a little event tonight, so I might try and impress somebody by using it. Then.
Okay, good, yes. Yeah. All right. Last one for you, I think, though, Jamie.
Oh, from Anthony Zehetner.
Yes.
And a swap.
Yeah. Nice
he
idea.
says,
Yeah.
What series would you boot to recruit? If you had the opportunity to reschedule some Gerry Anderson seasons around and jettison one existing one for a potential other, what would you choose?
Right.
Okay, so would you prefer season 2 of UFO instead of season 2 of Space 1999?
Oh, that's harsh. I think a lot of people would prefer that.
But careful.
Yeah.
Should new
saying I
Captain
would.
Scarlet have been New Space Precinct in glorious CGI? Well,
Yes.
no, but then you would have been out of a job, mate.
True,
So,
I would have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crikey.
See, you don't want that, do you?
No.
Or would the Secret Service still have been made, or would we have had a limited series of The Intruder or The Protectors Reunion Special?
I mean, why not?
The Intruder?
Yeah.
The Investigator? I don't know. Who knows? But I mean, I think we can discount Protectors Reunion Special, probably.
Talking of Space Precinct,
Oh, what
do you know
now?
who I've invited to join us on the podcast? I haven't yet had a response. And if he did, it would be amazing. Because he would sit where you're sat now, he would say all my words, and I would just mouth them.
Oh, Kieran Thingy.
Kieran Jakinis. yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Haven't heard back. There we are.
Awkward.
Right, all for now. But if you are on Facebook, do join in all the fun. People post pictures of their cosplays and their merchandise and just their random musings about Gerry Anderson things or other things.
Yeah.
And
we
sometimes,
love it.
you know, people in life have a bit of a rough time. And sometimes they head straight to the Gerry Anderson podcast group and they get lots of love and support from their fellow podsterons.
It's brilliant, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's really nice.
What a lovely crowd.
Yeah, good. Right, all for now. I think it's about time that we headed on over to the old randomizer sofa. Well, now here's the thing, of course. Alan Dein isn't around to press the button, is he? So what's Chris going to do about that?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Let's have a look.
Over to you, Chris.
Well, no guest in the studio today, no one to press the button on the randomiser. So there's no one to press the button on the randomiser. Just get in here. Come on, just get in here.
Fine.
Yes, all right. Everyone, this is Ross. Ross is our man behind the camera. He is indeed our entire camera and tech team.
Hello.
And he's here to press the button today because I have no one else to do it. So Ross, how excited are you?
Gosh, what an honour. First time ever on the podcast.
You've seen so many people come before you to press this button, and now it's your turn.
Well, here we go.
You know how it's done?
Hope I don't get this wrong.
I'm sure you won't. Oh, thank you very much.
Nervous.
Yes, indeed, as well you should be. So, what series are you hoping you might produce for us today?
I mean, Thunderbirds, always a classic, but
yes.
I wouldn't mind a Lavender Castle.
Lavender Castle. Well, now, what about this? What about this indeed? This is Lavender Castle. It's just come up on the randomiser, and today's episode is The Black Swat.
Ooh,
so, Ross, thank you very much. We'll enjoy The Black Swat, as I always enjoy a little bit of Lavender Castle. So, we welcome back to the randomiser. For the first time in our video podcast studio, it's Lavender Castle with The Black Swat. And I said several times, I'm always up for a bit of Lavender Castle. It is, it's not a show that I will ever probably watch again after I do the randomiser, but it is like a little glass of champagne. It's just it's a nice, bubbly, frothy pick-me-up. And Lord knows we could all do with a bit of that from time to time. So I'm very excited, nay keen, to see what this week's episode of Lavender Castle has to offer us. The Black Swat makes me think pirates, makes me wonder if it could be an episode with Short Fred Lead. Yes! Good stuff. I do like a bit of Short Fred Lead. This is a pie. Ah. Yes. Not the show's main antagonist, because that was Dr. Agon, but I just love that we have a full-fledged space pirate in the Anderson Universe. As we covered, was it last week, with Fireball XL5 and Space Pirates. I just love the retro look of those characters, and it's the same with this. So Short Fred Lead has found the paradox has settled on a planet. What's going on today?
This planet doesn't look like a cross to me, and I should know. I'm the one in the pilot's seat, remember?
Oh, Sproggles led them astray again.
See, Roger, you never do.
I never see. That's rich coming from you. And what if it is shaped like a cross anyway?
Oh, spot, mark, and X. He means X.
Okay, so Sproggle has, seen an X-shaped planet and thought, aha, treasure.
You know, according to my databank, this isn't the right sort of planet for treasure.
Oh,
Okay.
it is a treasure spot. None of yous believe Sproggle? But
No.
Sproggle's going to find it.
None of us has any reason to believe Sproggle.
Oh, you!
Oh dear, there he goes. Well, they're sending Sproggle off on his own. This is certainly not going to backfire.
Better go and see he's all right.
Oh, what? You don't think there's treasure out there too, do you?
No, it's just Leica's reason for existence is to make sure that Sproggle's all right. Bless. Oh, but there is the... Is it the cutting snark? Is that Short Fred Lead's ship?
Scoundrel thrice knowing we're here.
Oh.
Cannons! Prepare for a broadside!
And again, you have this lovely early-ish CGI. Oh, what? How did he know that was coming? Oh no! They've blown the paradox in half. That's not done. Oh. Oh my goodness, this is quite significant damage. Oh well. And it's all your fault.
Dr. Agon.
I don't think so. This is old-fashioned gunpowder.
Gunpowder. That means...
Walking stick's all right.
It was Short Fred Lead.
Walking stick. Are you all right?
right? Well, apart from being buried under 14 tons of rubble, I'm fine.
What happened?
The cutting snark blew.
Cutting snark, I was right, yes.
They all
dear.
survived. So where are they?
Well, I hope there's some way to restore the paradox, because otherwise, this cuts the series short a bit.
Oh, Sproggle doesn't want to fly.
Sproggle has no choice. Sproggle is reason ship exploded. So everyone else has presumably been taken prisoner by Shortfred Led and is now on board the Cutting Snark. Remember from the first episode that he wants to sell them into slavery, or sell them to Dr. Aegon as slaves. And having got them all in the hold, or most of them, he's now getting sloshed. And of course, Sproggle and Leica are sneaking aboard from behind. Oh, yes. Yeah, oh dear. Yeah, Shortfred Led is getting well and truly hammered. Oh no! There's some kind of force field over the cell door. Oh.
Some sort of force field Led set up.
I called it. I mean, okay, the line "it's some sort of force field" is quite common to sci-fi shows, but not ones that have been set by spiders. Oh! Now Shortfred Led's holding a knife to Sproggle's throat.
The Black Swat. The what?
Oh, right. There's the title.
Black Swat gets you. You're stuck until you rot.
And it's a lovely voice that Sproggle has. The performance, obviously he is the comic relief. At times he can be a bit grating, particularly when he gets everybody into trouble. But there was some real reluctance and hesitation in that voice that I really admire.
My old matey Sproggle, eh?
And Sproggle is on the receiving end of, Shortfred Led's cutlass. Again, it's just a beautiful character. Everything about all of these characters, for the most part, is just gorgeous. But then Cosgrove Hall stop-motion animation was always beautiful to look at. Oh.
Wouldn't want you to miss seeing your matey die.
Oh no, we wouldn't want that.
Move along there, Sproggle.
Oh dear. So what's Shortfred Led's plan here? Making Sproggle walk the plank, which is fine.
Another step and you'll never find the treasure. Sproggle will take its secret.
Ah, right. Shortfred Led believes in the treasure. Oh, no, he doesn't. Oh, right. Leica's being clever. Okay. I'm struggling to keep up with this show for very young children.
In this cave.
Oh, there's treasure, all right.
Of course, Shortfred Led can be tricked into believing that there is treasure on this treasure planet.
She may not look like much, but one false move and she'll pack your eyes out.
Pieces of treasure! Pieces of treasure!
Quite similar to Sproggle's voice there.
Sproggle. Then you didn't even find a treasure.
Oh, Sproggle didn't he? Now, where is,
Is this what you're looking for?
The doorknob. Yes, they found a doorknob earlier.
treasure?
What's this going to be?
Perhaps, but at least
I'm guessing it's going to be something that points the way to Lavender Castle, but in an inconclusive way. Let's see. Or maybe it rebuilds the ship. It's lavender coloured, so...
Real treasure.
Okay, it's taking away the chains that Shortfred Led put on them. It's frozen his bird sidekick. Yeah, reconstructing the ship. There it is.
I see.
Good as new.
Lavender Castle.
Of course.
Wait!
Oh, right, yes, there's a lavender star in the sky. And Shortfred Led.
Come on, my little pet.
Your little pet?
Yes, Captain Thrice is now trying to coax the Black Swat into laying down a force field trap for Shortfred Led. And they're away! Hurrah!
Blow me, Sproggle was right after all. There is a cross, a skull and crossbones.
Oh, that's quite clever. Okay. I don't think Sproggle would have noticed
We
that.
haven't seen the last of Shortfred Led.
No, thank goodness.
That may be so.
Well, I hope not. I mean, the way I'm watching this in random order, I may have covered all his stories now. I hope not, because I like him a lot.
What?
Oh, so now he's trapped. His spider's on the other side. So he's got no way out. But we know from later episodes that he does get out, so it'll be all right for Shortfred Led. He'll be back to pester the Paradox crew another day. And there we go, that was The Black Swat. That was another thoroughly enjoyable episode of Lavender Castle. Again, nothing with this show has sort of underwhelmed me or overwhelmed me. I know whenever this comes up, I know exactly the level of quality that we're going to get. And yeah, I wasn't disappointed with that. Some more nice character stuff with my favourite guest villain of the series, Shortfred Led. I don't think he's ever going to be pipped to the post on that title. So anything with Shortfred Led gets 2 thumbs up from me. Nice one.
Oh,
Well,
I see.
who would have thought
it's
it?
Ross Arrowsmith,
Ross
my
makes his-
third favourite member of the Jerry Anderson
Hang on.
team. Oh, it's a sliding, it's kind of up and down. It's live.
You're very
You know what I mean?
inconsistent.
It's like a live thing.
You're dangerously inconsistent.
Yeah. That was fun though, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Lavender Castle.
Lavender Castle.
So that makes Ross Simpsons Clips 24's favourite member of the Jerry Anderson podcast team.
Too right.
Well done, Ross.
Absolutely.
Very
yeah.
impressive.
I do love Lavender Castle. There is something very charming about it.
Yeah,
It's lovely.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
Great kind of escapist,
Yeah.
silly fun.
Yeah.
Lovely characters. All very beautiful looking.
And the closest that Jerry really got to producing a fairy tale, really, I think. I mean,
yeah,
of course,
well,
there are sci-fi elements,
it's
isn't
much
there?
more space fantasy than anything else, isn't it?
Space
So-
fantasy, exactly.
Is that the right term? I think it is.
Oh, yeah. Now, in case you're worried, Chris Dale will be back next week. I think I can
Thank
say that with
goodness.
certainty because he's been here every other week so
Yes.
far.
Yeah. Well, now you've probably jinxed that. but
Oh, no!
Let's see. Let's hope he turns up next week.
Yeah, along with all your other favourite items like the Voice of the Podsterons and the news. And Mark Braxton will be joining us in the Radio
And-
Times. And the end of the show and all the bit where we introduce ourselves.
And-
That's a nice bit. And the closing credits with all the writing on. that
And of
bit.
course, Fab Facts, Richard's favourite thing in his entire life, and that comes above even his wife. So, I guess we'll see you next week for Pod 281.
Bye.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, is he just saying bye now?
That's it, yeah. Well, I'm done.
Oh,
Spent.
okay.
I peaked.
Bye then.
Bye.
Let's get started.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
You seem really desperate to finish that one off.
Well, it's just that, I feel like it's job done, isn't it? There's something satisfying about thinking, well, I've done that now. Let's move on to something else.
Right.
Finished it and done.
Don't want to over-egg the ending like we have in the previous 279.
We'd never do that.
No.
No. I mean, who would want that?
Who would want us to carry on chatting after all the content was done and
Yeah.
just keep saying things?
Yeah, when we've really got nothing left to say.
Well, no, I've literally nothing. I'm just making noises
Yeah.
with my mouth hole now.
I mean, as a producer of the podcast, I would never let that happen.
No, good. Thank
Never.
goodness we've got you and your efficiency.
Anything we have in the podcast is quality, of the finest quality.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't have like a second-rate tag on at
No.
the end of the podcast where nothing is, of any import.
All killer, no filler.
That's a relief, isn't it?
Thank God for that.
All right, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. That was an Anderson Entertainment production.